So to answer the question, what is domain and range of any function? So this normally we learn this in high school, okay? And for functions, okay, I hope you guys should know what is function first, okay? So if you don't, then you have to figure out why do we call functions, okay? Function is basically we have linear function, we have all sort of different functions. So here is we are learning what is properties of a function. So the first two properties will be the domain and range of any function. So to explain that, what is the domain of a function? Okay, domain is basically all the possible x value. Okay, so on the plane we have all the x and all the y. Y is the vertical axis, x is the horizontal axis, and all the possible value of the function on the x-axis. So in this case, this function is actually continuous. It's actually from it continue until negative infinity up to positive infinity. We are only looking at the value of the on the x-axis. So because each point has the x and y coordinate, right? So we actually need to understand the domain of a function is basically all the possible x value, okay, x value for the domain. Range is all the possible y value. Okay, so in this case, okay, in this graph, the domain is basically all real numbers. Okay, we write all real number, or we use minus infinity to infinity. So when we use bracket like this, it means excluding. Okay, so some systems, some French system, they will actually use the square bracket. Okay, so these two are from two different systems. So the English system, we normally use the bracket to represent excluding. Okay, including we use the square bracket though. So we'll be looking at that in the next two examples. So let's look at range first here. Range is basically from the negative infinity again, because it's going down up to minus infinity, and it's going up to infinity. So the range is also all real number, or minus infinity to infinity. So if we look at the next example, this is a function that is the inverse function. So if you don't understand the name, it's okay. So just follow what is the domain. So all the possible x value, if you look at this, this is approaching to the y-axis, and this is approaching to the x-axis. It never touch, but it's approaching to it. So that means if it never touch, then what is the domain of this function here? Domain is basically from 0 up until it always go that way, and it always go up. So we start from 0, the x value, right? The x value is from here to positive infinity, okay? And both are excluding, because it never touched 0. It approaching to the y-axis, which the x value on the y-axis is 0, right? So it's approaching to it, but never touch it. So that's why we have to exclude the point 0. How about the range? Same thing. It never touched the horizontal x-axis. That means the y value never touched 0. And it goes up to infinity. So it's actually the same thing again. So if we look at the next example, it will be much obvious for you guys. So what is the domain of this one? Okay, the domain is all the possible x value. So this graph here, it continues. Okay, so it continues to go up. Okay, until positive infinity vertically and negative infinity horizontally. Right? The furthest point from this side is actually from minus infinity and positive infinity for the y. For the x is minus infinity, right? So the domain of this is basically from negative infinity, because we always look at the the x-axis for the domain, sorry, the x-axis. So the domain is basically from minus infinity up to this point, because it stopped right here. So it's up to 6. So we include 6 with the square bracket, but we exclude the left side. So how about the range? The range is basically from the lowest point on the y value. So the lowest point is actually -1. So from -1, include though, because it's a solid point, so we include -1 until positive infinity. Okay, we exclude that because it keeps on going up, right? So the highest value, the biggest value of y is actually infinity. Now the last example here is to see what is the x and the y value. Again, what is the possible x value and possible y value? So this is the domain is the possible x value, which is from -10 until 10. Okay, we always look at on the x-axis. So -10 to 10, and we include both of them because it's a solid point. If it's not a solid point, it's an empty dot, then you have to exclude it. The range, the lowest y value, which is -7. The highest value, which is 8. So -7 until 8. Both of them are solid points, so we have to include them. So this is domain and range of any function. So for more information, please visit my website. So I did some online course on my website. My course are mainly focused for the Quebec system in Canada. So if you have more questions, you can always ask me on my forum or on YouTube.